Welcome to episode 2 of Whispers from the Raven's Nest. Or at least I think this might be episode 2. We'll see. I didn't plan on recording right now, honestly, but it's like 4:30 a.m. I can't sleep. I was trying to get a nap in before work, but it don't look like that's gonna happen, so I guess something that's on my mind is the healing journey. I just think it's so interesting. And I'm kind of going based off of my experience and then off of just other things I've learned about others and I've seen, but mainly mine right now. I think it's just so interesting how many times things come full circle. Or you're called to start over again. And in essence, you're not really starting over again. You're just being called to revisit for a reason to go deeper, for whatever reason it may be. Or just maybe something that you've done and because of now where you're at, it's needed again. So for me, for example, I'm saying that in reference to my current healing, which, to be quite frank, I mean, it's always going on in one way, shape, or form. Growing, developing, healing, however you want to say, is something that has always been part of my journey, intentionally, consciously, and also not. Intentionally by my soul and spirit and the divine, even when I was younger, but not. But as far as me, it's still been at this point over a decade for various things. And I can't lie, there's times I've gotten caught up in the loop of healing and not necessarily moving forward, even though there was always an intention to continue moving forward, if that makes sense. How there's an intention and you're in the middle of it, and there's an awareness of you're in the middle of it, and yeah, you feel like you're moving forward and you are to a degree, and to a certain degree you aren't. So I just think it's interesting just looking at my journey now, getting up to this point, and even what I can feel and see moving forward. But anywho, so I remember I basically have tapped into and learned about so many modalities and methods of healing at this point in my journey. From breath work to sound healing with sound bowls to chanting and mantras and chakra work and yoga and Ayurveda and EFT and Reiki and multidimensional language or light language, multidimensional healing, SRT now, raw plant-based eating, raw food eating, somatic work, ecstatic dance, working with plant medicines, womb healing, yoni steaming. I mean, at this point, it's just so many things and probably some stuff I'm still missing. And I used to feel like, why can't I stick with something, honestly? And as I've been on my journey and I've learned my essence, my blueprint, I'm not meant to stay in one thing except the journey of transformation and alchemization of energy. That is my depth. And one thing, as I'm learning and stepping into being seen more and heard more, and even trusting that, releasing persecution wounds around showing up as a guide, a support, I don't. I mean, healer. Yeah, if you want to say that, I'm big on words and intention, and I feel like at the end of the day, no one can heal you except you. So yes, you can say that medicine woman. I'm even okay with that, but I don't know. I feel I'm big on being intentional about the words I say, and even titles. I'm not a big fan of titles, and at the same time, I feel like when you think about certain things that are associated with things, it helps give context so it's easier to understand initially. So, say for instance, if I did say, yeah, I'm a space holder and a healer, spiritual healer, whatever. If, for instance, if I said that, it would be only in the reference to help somebody understand some of the things that we might work on, and at the same time getting as far as proximity, you'll understand it. No, I don't like adhere to that. Now, as far as what I would say what I'm in for another person, now I do say space holder. um that is something, and support and guide. I can say guide, not um I'm not going to do the work for you. I will help support you. I can even help guide you if it's something you're new to or different to. And when I say that in reference to others, because I'm kind of going around from where I came, I'm also, even for myself, because I had to learn how to be a space holder for myself at an extremely young age. And when from at least the experiences around me, a part of me as a child took in that my feelings are not safe to be expressed here and my vulnerability isn't, then I learned quickly how to start holding space for myself. And yes, of course, as a child, yeah, there are certain things that we still have our own innate knowing and wisdom in. And even in that, when you put in the human aspect, the brain, the fact that physically the brain is not fully developed to be able to fully understand the spectrum of what's going on, typically sometimes we create habits that aren't the healthiest for us because that's in that moment how we can that's our ability to resource from what we have around us when needed for survival and safety, to the level and degree that we can give it to ourselves if we're not able to get it from others or outside of ourselves, especially as a child. Now, I'm saying that too. Was I loved? Yes, I was loved. And supported to a degree? Yes, I was. And at the end of the day, though, we are all having human experiences. And if I'm being honest, I feel like really this is really one of the first generations for a good chunk of the collective, that a lot of healing has really started to happen and can happen where it's space and capacity. Now, of course, it's been happening always. Like, you've always had pockets of people that have tapped into different things and healing and awareness and everything else. And that looks different for everybody. Even when I say that, it's not a one size fits all when it comes to healing or methods of healing or self discovery or awareness. Some people, it may be somatic work. Some people, it may be mental knowledge. Some people, it may be working with plant medicine. Some people in community. Some people, a combination of all of that. So it's going to look different for everyone. Um, and at the same time, and I'm saying especially as a melanated person, that we didn't have as much space up until more recently to really explore that, because it was a lot of survival because it was a lot of traumas and pain passed down generation to generation, and it just compounded. And that's still going on. And not just with us, but being as someone who is, I have seen that a lot. I know that, and even of the human experience. So I just think that it's interesting. And to be honest, I think I went in a circle. Going back, or I kind of went around to come back here, but going back to how I've over my long journey, how I've tapped into all of these different things that I've learned. Some things I've gotten trained in, some things it's just been my own resourcefulness and research and time and dedication to. I have a, I can confidently say at this point in my life, a nice ass toolbox of things to pull from. And I just think it's interesting. So anyway, I just I did some breath work basically earlier, some tantric breath work, and I breath is important to me. I'm intentional about that, taking deep breaths, like really breathing into like the womb, the gut, the stomach. Just not chest breathing. A lot of people don't really breathe correctly. A lot of people breathe from the chest um, naturally just because of the pressure, anxiety, and everything of society, and at least over here in the U.S. And depending on which group you're in, that too, because to really breathe into, I feel like for a lot of people to really take deep breaths and really to expand the diaphragm, really going into the stomach, the womb, the gut, however you want to say it, it really takes intention. And so, and for me, that was something that was very intentional for years. So it's not, I don't really have to think about it. Don't get me wrong, I have my times where maybe sometimes if I am a little overwhelmed by something or anxious or everything else, because we're still human. Even as somebody that can hold space, it doesn't mean that I don't need to sometimes continue to hold space for myself. To be honest, it's a continual process because you're continually evolving. Um, so in those moments, I have developed a level of awareness about myself that I can tell sometimes in the moment when I'm doing this and hold space for myself in that moment to shift. Sometimes I need to just let myself be in this moment, experience it, and let it flow through. And sometimes I can actually shift it right then and there. But I can also tell sometimes when I feel certain energies coming on and when something might happen. Um, and shift it. So I was doing some more intentional deep breaths versus just that, because there was a time where I did that all the time, like took 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour or something, and I would just do deep breaths. I've done, I think the longest session I've ever done for breath work was it was almost a 2 hour session. I think it was an hour and a half though of actual deep breathing. We did some other stuff too. And then as far as on my own guided practices, probably about 30, 30 minutes of deep breath. There was a time where I had to get very intentional about meditation too in general, not necessarily breath work, even though breath work, to be honest, is kind of a all the time thing, but when you really delve into it more deeply, but just like doing meditations. When I first started meditating, I did guided meditations all the time, which was fine because it was hard for me to really relax and like relax the mind, relax the body. And I've learned a lot of things about that over time. Um, but initially, I was like, I don't know what to do. So I started with guided breath work sessions, and I remember it got to the point where it was like a year straight. I meditated almost every day, like pretty much almost every day. I dropped in and did some type of guided meditation, and I remember it got to the point where when I did meditations, and it kind of, I was like, okay, now this is a little too much. I need to kind of back off. And not saying that meditation isn't bad. I mean, it's bad because it's not. Um, and it's also knowing what you need and giving that space to breathe sometimes. So it got to the point when I would do meditations either in groups or even just drop in to my body even for a second or even by myself, I would instantly be dropped in within a minute or two. And literally, and when I say dropped in, I mean deep, as if I had been meditating for a full 20, 30 minutes straight. And it took um, so long for me to reground and come back when things were done, whether it was with myself, in groups, or even just dropping in for an intention. And also, that's an important aspect too I had to learn about, learning to really ground, after. And I knew and I learned about it, and it was just, I was just being taken on another aspect of knowing, okay, let's ease off of this. Let's kind of work on some grounding, coming back into presence too. And even with breath work, there was a time I did that every day for, I think it was once, I think I did it every day for almost a month, like deep breath work. And then things started getting so overwhelming, like so much energy came up, so many memories, emotions, and everything else. And I say that to say I've had a lot of experiences where I kind of overdid things and not giving them enough time to breathe, to integrate, to rest, and for me to really process, to give it time before I kept going. When I first started, I was kind of more forceful in my journey. And over time, over years, I've learned to really ease, to bring more ease, more flow into it, and not feeling like I have to get here, because at the end of the day, you can't rush the process. And to be honest, it's a lifelong process. Now, there are certain things, like if there's something big you really want to work on, like I understand, I get that, wanting to work through it. But honestly, it's just a process. It's a continual thing. And it's like the sooner you accept and surrender into that, the easier things will be. And and even when actions, I was kind of forceful, because like I said, I don't know, I think when I was younger, I was in a place where I felt like if I just get over a certain hump, I'll be completely healed. And not completely healed, but foundationally, like I was just going to be set, and of course maintain that. But for the most part, and as I've grown and learned, it don't work like that. Now, you can have moments, like climaxes in certain parts of your journey and healing, that you really do move through something. And I've also learned that, yeah, sometimes you can really clear something in the moment, like something deep. That is also possible too. I've seen it, I've experienced so many things at this point when it comes to in the physical realm, in my body, spiritually, energetically. Like, I've experienced so many things. So I know that, to be honest, anything is possible. And I also know, being that we are having human experiences, it's important sometimes to let your body integrate. Not sometimes, it's extremely important all the time to make sure you're um, considering the physicality, the tangibility of your experience in this human experience, in this vessel that we're in. And also, too, it's also important, you still have to consider things outside of the space that you're holding or being held in, like, you know, everyday life things. So it's important to understand what phase you're in, what you need for support, because support is different also, like can look different for everybody, or what phase you're in. It might be, for support, I might need to make sure I have a therapist, you know. For some, it may need to be, I need to have a healthy, safe community and space I can go to be held in and seen in, or even just to be in. For some, if you have, say, for instance, a partner, or a family member that you're close to, whether in relationship and or in proximity. Being able for them to understand what you're doing, that you need space. Sometimes you might not always be able to show up, or you might have times where things come up and it's like, yeah, I need some understanding and support as I work through these things. For some, it's like, I need to make sure I move my body more to move through these frequencies and energies and these shifts. For some, it's like, I might need to educate myself a little bit more on something. For some, it's I need to eat better, hydrate more, give my body the healthy vitamins and minerals it needs. It can look different. For some, it's I need to be out in nature more. I need to create more. I need to work with my inner child more. For some, I need to take off all unnecessary and extra stuff off my plate that is stressing me out, that is pulling from my life force and my energy, and that I am not excited about. For some, it's let me look at the spaces that I've been in and the people that I usually hang around. There's something about that need to shift, the frequency or whatever it may be. Even if it's a job, I'm not saying just jump out and just leave something, like, make sure you have a plan. Now, everybody's different. Some people can just leave and that be that. And some people need to have a plan. So it's like, what is it that you need for support in your life? Or is it just like that stuff outside? And don't get me wrong, when I say exercise and all that stuff, that is still stuff that you are governing, like you have self-sovereignty over. But also, is it, I just need to, or not even need, but there is a deep invitation for me just to hold myself more, just to hold space for myself more. And what that can look like. That might look like, I just did this meditation, these energies, these emotions come up, I feel the need to cry. Let me cry. And not have any judgments about it. Even if I don't understand what I'm crying about, let me just let it be, let it flow. And when I'm done, maybe just sit there for a moment and be grateful. Sit there in gratitude for knowing that I held space for myself. I allowed this thing to flow, to clear, to shift, to release whatever it may have been. This was a step forward in accepting and loving myself more and trusting the process. And now, what is it that I need to help fully integrate that? Do I need a bath? Maybe soak in the tub? Do I need to go get a good healthy meal? Maybe journal? Maybe just go to sleep? Do I need to connect with somebody that makes me feel good and let's just have a good time? Like, what is it now that I need to help integrate that? But by doing those things, by sitting there, by letting it flow, and then just sitting there in that after that for a second, not like thinking about it, overthinking about the emotions or whatever, but just sitting there in stillness. You don't have to think anything, but you have just expanded your capacity to hold space for yourself and others if you're called to in another form, which we are relational creatures by nature. So in essence, you are learning to hold space more for others too, because you're learning to do it for yourself. And your relationship with yourself is a mirror to relationship with others. So as you go deeper and as you improve that relationship with yourself over time, the things outside of you, including relationships with others, will reflect that. And or though, note to that statement is sometimes when we start to do things and work on ourselves, if there's a relationship that's not in alignment or a situation that's not in alignment with the shifts that we're creating with ourselves, it may start to feel uncomfortable. And that's just the truth. And the uncomfortability is a part of us saying that this is no longer aligned. Now, not necessarily saying the relationship or situation is completely unaligned anymore. It could be just something needs to shift about it. Do I need to have better boundaries or speak my truth more? Do I need to maybe not overgive or not, things like that? Is there some part of me that I need to honor more in this relationship? Is there something that I need to speak on for the other person, as certain things? Is there maybe I don't need to be around this person as much? Or maybe I should be around them more. Maybe they, in some way, some part of them is actually good for me. Now, saying that still honoring another person's space and their needs, of course, it could be a multitude of things. So, I just think it's so interesting. And when I say these things, these are things I've learned from my own experiences, and I've seen them too with others. But I've learned a lot through relationships with others. Continue to learn, continue to grow and evolve. I've had to learn how to have uncomfortable conversations with people, and which still sometimes it still is not always easy depending on the person. But it's at the end of the day when we do these things, usually it's because we do want to continue to have a relationship, and or sometimes it's because it's something that we need to do for ourselves so we can grow and evolve, depending again on the situation. It looks different for everybody. And but anyway, I was being called back to go back, and I'm feeling a need to maybe do some more continual breath work. I haven't really had to dive deep into that in a while. But I feel like for where I'm at as far as on my physical healing journey from this accident, some stuff came up. I remember I had to, when I went to the doctor earlier and I was talking about some of my symptoms. And just talking about possibly putting me on like a small dose of some medication to help with it. And you know how I feel. I'm not big on medication. I had to, let's just say I had to be on different medications a lot when I was younger. I'm not big on it. The only time now I really take meds is like, say if I have to go to the hospital, for example, for some reason. Other than that, I usually just do supplements or herbs and stuff like that. At the end of the day, though, I had to learn because I was I went through a phase where I was completely opposed to it. And I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I also had to learn from some of my experiences, like, Spirit really worked with me to come more to a neutral place. That there's a place and time for both. Time and place and time, whatever. There is for both. Like I said, I've had a couple times, maybe I had to go to the emergency room and they gave me something to immediately help me with some things. And, I had to learn from that experiences. And just like there are some people that genuinely might have something that really they're taking and saving their life. And now, in that, I also, my beliefs have not changed. I do feel that at the end of the day, there is still a natural way to be able to heal and support our bodies where we don't need it long term or the rest of our lives. And at the same time, that's kind of tricky because, to be honest, somebody could have a condition that maybe it's a plant somewhere in the Amazon might be the only one that really helps, like truly. Now that might not be that might be more of a rare occurrence, that it's not something that they could get by ordering. But realistically, let's be honest, there's so many plants out in the world, and so it might be. And in that case, realistically, more than likely, if they don't even know what it is, how they gonna get it? More than likely, if this plant has not been studied, how is it going to be known? So in instances like that, I also look at multiple perspectives when it comes to things. It's like it's this and that. Multiple truths can be there. So, saying that, I also understand that it has a time and a place and a purpose where it can actually be very beneficial, at least in a moment. And at the same time, that doesn't mean there are other things that can't be done to help support a person's body where maybe they don't need as much or as frequent. And also saying that, like I said, this and that, Sometimes, a lot of times, that might require more work than a person is willing to put in. That's also a truth. So, yeah. Anyway, though, the point of saying that is, he knows I'm not big on medicine. And so I told him I'll take the prescription, but I don't plan on taking it at this point. I want to see how some things go. And so I was very honest about that. And he was like, that's fine. It's just temporary to possibly help relieve some of my symptoms that I'm having. But it came like I did some breath work intuitively today. I went through, it was a guided breath work thing. I haven't went on this lady's channel in so long, and I just noticed some things have been coming back around, and I'm feeling a deep need to create my own protocol for helping to heal some things. So I noticed I've been kind of clearing out some clutter electronically, like on my phone. Like even today, I deleted a whole bunch of YouTube channels. I cleared out some stuff on my computer. I've been clearing out some emails. Like I go through phases like that sometimes, but I have an awareness to know when it's because of a shift is going on. And yeah, it's bringing things back around. Like I went through when I was clearing some, I saw one guy's channel. I haven't seen any of his videos in so long, but he talks more about the body and the nervous system and everything else. I was like, So probably good for me to check some stuff out. But it's coming to me because I've had to do, basically, from the accident, I got brain injury I'm healing from, and it's a lot better, but it's still healing, like creating things like light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, and other stuff with my nervous system. And so even like with my speech, I notice sometimes I stumble with my words more, and just other stuff that I notice. It's not big per se, like where it's extremely noticeable with others outside that have known me, but it's noticeable to me because I have an awareness about myself. And so I'm noticing that. And so I went to see him, make sure there's nothing major going on, because I just finished this protocol, 30-day protocol with my, with basically one of my therapists to help, like vision therapists, to help with my symptoms. And so I'm feeling like it's just my body trying to recalibrate, like my brain, from some of the stuff. And at the same time, I'm like, just in case it's not, I need, like, am I okay? For the most part, from what he could see. So I just want to make sure mentally I'm not, something major isn't going on. So it came to me to create, came with me today. I feel it in my spirit that I'm going to be possibly creating a little mini protocol combining different modalities I've already studied, combined with different things I've had to learn recently, like some therapy exercises for my neural vision stuff, and supplements and all of that. So to help me recover a little bit. Like I've been very intentional about taking certain things now to help my brain, like healthy fats every day, and minerals and all of that stuff. And so I've been intentional about some things, but I'm feeling a call to go a little deeper, and that's fine. Like this happened before. I've had different times and I was called to go deeper or create my own little mini protocol rituals or whatever. So because I think it's that part of me. It's like, no, because I don't desire to be on medicine unnecessarily. Like I said, I've had my experiences with it, so I understand. Even in some jobs I've worked where I had to give it, just seeing certain things, I'm just like, no, even things around me. So like I said, if it comes down to where I really, really needed to take something, and in my spirit and in my soul, that's fine. I'm at a point in my life where I'm not the fondest of the idea. And at the same time, I've learned that there is You know, things have purposes. So, yeah, but at this point, in this moment, we gonna try this first. Basically, is what my spirit is feeling, what I'm feeling. So, but I have it just in case I need it, and just in case I decide, and that's great. Yeah, I'm trying to see. I don't know. I think that might be it. I just figured since I couldn't sleep, and that tends to happen. I'm not when a lot of energy is flowing and moving for me. Sometimes it's like I get bouts of insomnia because of it. And it's like I can tell if it's like, yeah, this is energy, like a lot of energy shifts. And realistically too, I know I'm still integrated. I just finished recently energy another like type of energy training. So I'm like still in the process of integrating that. So I'm aware realistically of certain things. So I'm not like, oh, this is just physical, this is just this. No, it could be a combination of both. And I also realize there's reasons for it. Like there are certain seasons I know I'm in right now, and that's okay. I'm allowing it to be. I'm working on allowing it to be. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really think I have anything else. I had these different ideas just drop in yesterday for ideas of things to talk about. Um, I'm thinking about doing, though, a weekly thing for this. Because I know there is information that my spirit and my soul and my being wants to be witnessed in speaking. Sometimes it might be something very vulnerable, other times it might not be. So I'm thinking about doing a weekly thing, like a weekly reflection maybe, or something. I'm not quite sure at this point. I'm not really stressed. Part of my process, part of this devotion ritual, is allowing it to be what it's going to be on this side. Like I said, I want to make sure that I am allowing myself the space through this to be seen in a way for this channel. And so that when I show up in other ways, I'm showing up in that way, you know. It's not through some other inherent need that's not being supported in the way that I can. And I think that's also important, especially when you're holding space for others. It's to have an awareness of that and don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, I feel like when you show up in service, you're still getting a need met, because to be able to be of service is important. So that is still a need that is being nurtured. And at the same time, when I'm saying that, I'm saying more deeper needs that we're not honoring, that need to be honored. So say, for instance, if you have a cuddle therapist and they're giving sessions to clients, but they have this deep inherent need to have touch and more healthy intimacy in their life that's not sexual, it's just healthy intimacy. And they're not honoring that, whether through getting their own cuddle therapist or having healthy connections with others, or not touching themselves enough, and not necessarily in a certain way, but just in general. Like when when you rub lotion on yourself or oil or something, that can be a loving ritual of self-touch and nourishment. And as you do that, as you caress yourself, you do it with the intention of feeding, or I'm not even going to say feeding, of nourishing that need for support and healthy intimacy and touch. You might not always get it with others, and a lot of us in society are very touch deprived. Like I think it takes 20-second hug to start to release oxytocin, and a lot of times hugs are a quick second. A lot of us are touch deprived, And I think it's supposedly you need 9 or 8 if going based off of like quick hugs or something. It was a statistic. I haven't seen it in so long, but I think it was 8 or 9 hugs to help to really get that need met. At least the basics of it, and like 12 hugs a day to really thrive from that, and on average. So I mean, most of us are touch deprived, and that's just the truth. Like, we need a lot of healthy intimacy, and I think that was the thing too, how a lot of people have started to see intimacy as it has to be something between romantic partners, when no, you can have intimacy with yourself, with your family, with your friends, with your community. Intimacy looks different in different forms depending on the relationship. So intimacy can literally be hanging out together, you know? So it looks different, but anyway, that's an example of not having that need met. So because of that, say for example, maybe when they're holding space for somebody cuddling, maybe they try to navigate the session versus just helping to support and guide it more, you know? Like, maybe because they have a need to want to be held, maybe they try to possibly navigate the client to, oh, do you want to do like a holding position, versus when the client just wants to be held. Now sometimes the client might want to do the holding, because sometimes that's a part of our needs too also, to be able to assist and support others, like I said. So, and or maybe that has some other deep need from some memory or whatever the case may be. Is it can be multiple reasons, you know, or maybe they notice that they're getting triggered by the session, or maybe start crying. And don't get me wrong, sometimes depending on the environment, the space, other factors, that is okay. But for the most part, if you're holding space for somebody and you just start bawling your eyes out and just become very uncontrollable, then you can, basically, you're not able to really hold space for them as they show up. And unless, say for instance, there are people that do channeling work for others. Like, I channel sometimes, but I don't, I'll get into that later. I have some stuff I'm working on, but I'm not going to get into that. But but say for instance, there's a lady that she does channeling work. So she literally channels the emotions and energies through her body for people and transmute it. And I've done that before, not in a professional setting. It happened. That's a whole story. But in that case, but saying in that type of case, really, unless you've kind of put that out there, that's not really the time and place for that. Now, don't get me wrong. Authenticity is important. So say it may be like, hey, you know, when you're doing your own space holding for yourself after the session, like, notice this came up. Or even if you're talking to the client after, it's like, oh yeah, I noticed this came up for me too. And it could be you. It can also be you tapping in to them, and so you can maybe ask them about it to see if something comes up for them that they might want to discuss. So it's not always necessarily that the case, but the thing about it is, it's important to know that we're honoring our needs. Or even like a regular talk therapist, somebody could say something, and because they haven't done work around this topic, they could get really triggered and not be able to hold efficient space, or they start to go into like the monkey mind, because now emotions are coming up and they're trying to come off as like they have it all together on the outside, and now they can't think clearly, and now they start to seem like they're distant and not really paying attention, and now this person does not feel like they're being heard and seen and validated. So it can create a whole effect, a whole, I guess, cycle or spiral or whatever the case may be. It's starting to get light outside. What time is it? It's 5 something. Yeah, at this point, I'm not even gonna bother. After I get done with this, I'm gonna probably just go in early and get ready to not work early, but I can get some stuff done myself. But anyway, Oh, yeah. So it's important that to make sure our needs are met. And if I'm being quite honest, that's part of the reason I haven't started. Well, that's part of it. Why I haven't started doing cuddle sessions yet is because I've been looking for a cuddle therapist of my own just to make sure that I am supported before doing that, because that is a very close, intimate thing. And I've done like practice sessions because I had to do it for my training and all that. So honestly, and well, let me not say this, because I have done it actually. I have done cuddle. Um, I have brought in cuddling to things when holding space for people, but not a full-on cuddle session. So there were times I was facilitating plant medicine for some people close to me, where I was offering them plant medicine and holding space. And some of the people, I felt it came to me to hold them in like cuddle positions as they were working through the medicine. So in that case, fine. So I have brought it in, but to do a full-on session, I haven't done that yet, just because that's part of it. And though that at this point, though, I feel okay enough to hold space. I don't feel like I would honestly, even then, before, if I'm being honest, it was kind of a fear too. A fear of, am I honestly enough to hold space for them and where they feel supported? Logically, yes, I know that's the case, because I mean, honestly, looking at my life, I've consistently held space for others, and I know that people feel held and supported by me. Um, I know this to be true, just because, for one, I've been very intentional about growing, not only for myself, but to be able to hold space for others. Um, and also, it's important to me to do things with integrity. So certain things I wouldn't do, like, for instance, I don't know if, and so I wouldn't just randomly do it or chance it, that, oh yeah, I'm finna just hold space for somebody to do like an ayahuasca ceremony. No, I don't feel resourced enough yet at this point to do that. Now, do I feel resourced enough to support, to be an assistant support holder? I do. That I do. I feel okay in that. But to be the main person, no, I don't. And that's okay. So, and I'm good with that, because I know, like, okay, this isn't my area right now. Now, I do plan on training. That is something I do want to go deeper into. And I say it, and I might be completely fine holding space, and that's great. But at this point, I'm not going to intentionally jump into that in that role in capacity for multiple reasons, but that's one of the main ones. Because yes, I've had to work through so many things that have came up for me. So I've learned to be comfortable with different reactions and things, and even others, like when I've done things in other realms like sound healing and stuff. Sometimes some people have had reactions when they were clearing that I wasn't ready for. And at the same time, though, I didn't come off or get overwhelmed or change my demeanor in a way where they felt like something was wrong with them. Like, I've learned to really have stillness within myself and learn to ground and let the energies just flow, because I don't understand the full process. Like, yeah, I might get downloads of information of what's going on. I might see certain things or feel or whatever the case may be, but not all the time. Sometimes it's just we're just meant to be there, just to hold space and let them go through their process. Because sometimes it's about just the energy and frequency of safety and being held, seen, and witnessed, and trusting them. It's not raining, is it? Trusting them to be able to move through the process. And then, of course, I think with certain things, it's important to make sure somebody has support to be able to integrate. Like, don't just, I don't think it's a healthy practice. Matter of fact, I know it's not. I'm not even gonna say I don't think to sound it. I know it's not to have a session with somebody and then all these energies come up and you just leave them, like, let them go on their merry way. Like, even, yeah, you might have them ground there to end the session, but just like go on their merry way without any support, any knowledge on how to integrate, anything else. No, that's not, no. In that case, sometimes you can do more harm than good. Now, if you have somebody that, and there's ways you can go about that too. You don't always have to physically continuously be there depending on it. You can give them a set of resources, that they can go through themselves to make sure, again, different with each situation or whatever it is you're offering in your capacity too. And you could always work with others too. So, but what was I about to say? I don't even remember. My mind went somewhere else. It was holding space, making sure resourced. Oh yeah, because you can do more harm than good though. You really can. And I think that's important too. And there are different levels of capacity that we all have in expertise for certain things. So like I said, some things, that's not my that is not my place that I would say I'm more experienced in. In that case, if it's something that is not coming to me that I should do, or at least with this person, because sometimes too, it's not just even about the specific type of space holding. Maybe it's the person, the energies don't align, and that's not to say anything negative. That is just sometimes people's energies don't align. Like when people find teachers, mentors, therapists. You can have two therapists that literally are trained in the exact same thing, have the exact same history, but for some reason, this person feels better to you. That's the person you go with. I mean, it's just what it is. Because when you are with somebody that you feel safe around, that feels good to your being, you're able to let go and open up more, which means you'll be able to go deeper more. Don't get me wrong, you can still do good work with somebody else, but if some part in your being doesn't feel fully safe to open up, you're only going to be able to go so far compared to the person that you do feel safe with. And it also depends on your intention. Maybe you don't really plan on going deep. So, yeah. I think I'm done. Like I said, I didn't really plan on recording this now. It's just like I couldn't sleep. And I'm up. Oh, I'm just going to get through today. Come back and lay down and stuff. And I'm trying to think though, is there anything else that I want to? Nope, not really. It's interesting though as I'm talking, because it's like I'm talking, and this is only the second one I recorded, but because I want to keep the personal and the business channel separate, at least initially. I'll eventually mention my business stuff. I've kind of been paused on some of it right now anyway, while I've been dealing with some stuff, and I plan on redoing or starting my business YouTube again. I had started it last year and I got in an accident, and then I was just like, from the brain injury and everything else, it just came to me to just clear it completely and just start over. So I'm in the process of doing that, and I know this is part of it. Like I said, having another sounding space to make sure that I'm getting out certain things, so when I show up, I can have more clear messaging and everything else. So again, just like I said, the need to be heard, seen, and witnessed from personally and generally is not feeding over into that. And because that can create confusion sometimes. Because there's parts of us, like what I notice for me when I step into ceremony, it's I don't it's I'm always in flow, I'm always connected, but it's like I become instantly more grounded in flow more naturally. Even if, say, like, my mind is down in things, there's a part of me that is still, that is there, that is trusting, that is knowing, and it's always something beautiful that comes out of it, always. And so, but because of that, though, sometimes if that isn't held, and the needs of that part aren't met, and the capacity isn't worked through, then it can create confusion in what's coming through, even for the part of you that's clear. So this is just part of my practice. Like, I've done things intentionally before. If I know that, say I was working on being seen more, not just like, this is more about speaking more. It's all of it, being seen, speaking, witness more, but this is more of a speaking, getting out things in this practice. But there have been even small things I've done before to be seen more. It's something small, but it's about building capacity. Like, say for instance, this was years ago, but I was working on being seen more physically, like being okay more with attention on me, because I don't, I just, I don't like attention on me. It's a part of me that's just like, no, I like to be over here and do my little thing. Like, don't get me wrong, if something comes up and I need to kind of have attention on me for whatever reason, it's a part of me that's always okay with that. And at the same time, I notice I naturally tend to get attention even when I don't try to. And I know part of that is because I'm meant to be seen more, to help assist, support, and inspire. Like, people have done that for me. I know that's part of my journey. At this point, I just know that. So it's like, okay. So I don't get surprised now when, say, like, I could be, for like literally real example, I could be over in the corner listening to my music for something, like in the past, and somehow the attention just seems to just come over my way, you know, or even just sitting at the desk, I'm thinking I'm blended into the crowd. Somehow the attention seems to come my way. So I'm just at this point now where I'm just like, okay, you know. But anyway, I don't remember exactly specifically what was going on, but I know I was working on being more okay with attention on me. So I did something super small, but still significant. And I still have it, but I had a nose ring. I've actually had nose rings and they would close up over the years. But I always got a mini stud. This time I had got a bigger, no, it was still like, it wasn't like a ring. It was still, it, it wasn't a stud, but it kind of was. I don't know the exact name. But it was like this big Mayan gold circle piece that goes on my nose, where it was a lot bigger, a lot more bolder, and it had like some little crystals on it where it kind of like have a little shine to it too. And I looked, I was like, oh my goodness, that is so big on my face. And in actuality, it's really not. But at that point in my life where I was in, I was like, I don't want that pulling attention to me. And it was something so small, but it was significant. Like, I've done small things, I've done big things to be okay to working through whatever it is I'm working through in my life. Like when I was working through communication, like being able to speak up more. I had certain situations where people, like coworkers, did things that I felt were disrespectful, and it came to me to talk to them. So I had to get uncomfortable where I pulled them to the side and I was very direct and honest. Like, look, this bothered me. This is the issue. Do you have a problem with me? I wasn't aggressive, but I was direct, even though inside I was extremely uncomfortable about it. And so it's not something I have to do. Like, it's not often or anything, but I've had to do it a few times over my span of whatever. And that was also part of my work because I knew I was being called to be able to speak up more when people do things, you know? So it's like, all right, let's just do it. Took my little deep breath. Hey, can I talk to you? Pull them to the side, let there be that. And it's just like, if I felt some tension in my body even after it, I worked through it. It's a process, and it's about what are you willing to do to help yourself grow. And it's not, a lot of times it's not comfortable. Now, even in that, healing, I think there's this thing about healing has to be difficult or uncomfortable. And yes, to a certain degree it's uncomfortable, but it doesn't always, there can be beauty in healing. Like, for instance, the first time I worked with cacao. And the first time I went, well, it technically was the first time I went to an ecstatic dance event, but it also kind of was. So I'm going to just say, the first time I had cacao and I went to this ecstatic dance event, it was like I had this moment of just pure beauty and bliss. Because it was like my whole life, I've always loved music and dancing and singing and stuff like that. And a part of me just knew, I'm going to do something with that. I don't know what it is. Because like traditional music things and all this stuff I saw, I'm like, it don't feel right to me. And the first time I experienced ecstatic dance, sound healing with bowls and gongs and all of this, like once I knew about that stuff, that's what it was. And so I had this moment of like pure joy and bliss and beauty, and even now it makes me tear up a little bit, where I sat down, like I stopped dancing with everybody, and I sat down against the wall and I just looked and I just took it all in. I literally took in, it was so much beauty and joy and freedom and authenticity and love in that space. And so I tend to do that. It's like, because I've been to multiple ecstatic dances at this point, and I always took a second out of all of them. It wasn't like intentionally, but it was just like I just did. Well, once I think it was intentional, but for the most part, I just intuitively, I would take a second, sit down, and just look and take it all in. Just take in the beauty, the magic, the love, the authenticity. And every single time, it helped me to grow, to expand my capacity even a little bit for the good things, for the joy, the bliss, and the beauty, and the love. Not just the pain or the sadness or to be able to hold grief, but be able to hold those things too. So, yeah. I think I'm done. I think this is done. So, yeah, I think I will go ahead and upload this, and yeah, blessings.